Story number 1. This one time I was sitting with my daughter on the sofa. We were watching one of her favorite movies because it was the only thing that got her to calm down, and I needed a break. Halfway through the movie, my daughter stood up, slowly turned to look at me, and with the straightest and most serious face ever, she said, "The people buried in the backyard must have died screaming." I stared at her for a moment, still kind of processing what she just said. "Why do you say that?" I asked, not entirely sure which part of the situation I should have questioned. "Because I can still hear them screaming now," she replied. Without saying anything else, she sat down and went back to watching her movie. I was probably frozen to the spot for the next 3 hours. I do not know if there are people buried in my backyard or not, and I'm afraid to check. Story number 2. My son and I were having a tough week, so I decided to treat him to an ice cream when I picked him up after school that Friday. He was so excited. We got our ice cream, headed to the park, and sat on the swings while we ate. He randomly perked up and told me, "You're my favorite mommy." I laughed. "Thank you, but I'm your only mommy," I corrected him. He thought for a moment and shook his head. "No, you're the 4th one, but you're way better than the other ones ever were." He's only 7 years old and finds new ways to creep me out every day. Story number 3. I have 3 children. The 2 oldest are 16 and 13, and my youngest is only 6 years old. They're all girls that love driving their father crazy. One day, he came home from taking them to the mall to buy some new clothes. I wasn't feeling well, so I stayed home. My husband walked into the house, face white as a sheet. My 2 eldest walked in right after him, and their faces were frozen in a look of confusion mixed with terror. When my youngest walked in, she was as happy as can be, humming a little song and skipping all the way to the kitchen. "What happened?" I asked my husband. "You'll never believe what she just said to me," he explained. "We were stopped at a red light and she asked me if I remembered the last time that we died." "What?" I stood up, ready to laugh, but I quickly realized that it wasn't a joke when both my eldest daughters started nodding their heads. "She said that the last time we died was in a car accident when someone ran the red light," my husband continued. "I'm not driving her to the mall ever again." My husband was pretty shocked after that day, but he got over it and my youngest hasn't said anything similar to that again. Story number 4. I woke up in the middle of the night when my 5-year-old son started shaking me. "What's going on?" I asked him. "There's a monster underneath my bed," he whined. I sighed. This was a normal occurrence, but he usually asks me to check underneath the bed and in the closet before he goes to bed. "Did you have a nightmare?" I asked him, already climbing out of bed. "No, the monster under my bed tried to grab me." Okay, I yawned. "Let's get you back to bed." I took him back to bed, checked his closet and underneath his bed, and then I turned back to him as I was about to turn off the light and shut the door. "There you go. There are no monsters underneath your bed," I told him. "No, it's behind you now." Story number 5. I rushed into the kitchen one day when I heard what sounded like a bunch of glasses and plates smashing on the floor. I found my 10-year-old son standing on top of the counter, grabbing the plates and glasses from the cupboard and throwing them to the floor. "Stop that right now," I yelled at him. "Young man, what the hell do you think you are doing?" He paused, glass in hand, and shrugged his shoulders. "The tall man told me to do it," he said. "What tall man?" "He stands at the foot of my bed every night and watches me sleep." He suddenly looked to the staircase behind me. "He's at the top of the stairs right now." Obviously, I looked and there was no one there. I was freaked out and angry, but I know when my son was lying to me, and he wasn't lying that day. Story number 6. My family and I were on Christmas vacation one year. We usually go out to this cabin we own near a lake that freezes over. The children love the snow and ice skating on the lake. One night, we were sitting in front of the fireplace doing the usual, roasting marshmallows, drinking hot chocolate, and telling scary stories. My youngest child, she was only 4 years old at the time, was staring deeply into the fire. "We should set the whole cabin on fire," she suddenly muttered softly as if she was speaking to herself. "What was that?" I asked her. I heard what she said, but I wanted to make sure that I didn't misunderstand or mishear it. She looked at me almost shocked, and with the widest and most innocent smile on her face, she shouted, "Nothing?" Story number 7. I felt really tired one afternoon and decided to lie down for a nap. My daughter was really helpful and offered to tuck me in. She was 9 at the time, so I didn't have any problem with her looking after herself for a while. Her older sister, 16, was in her bedroom and would be able to handle it if anything happened. Anyway, I thought it was really sweet that she wanted to tuck me in. I lied down in bed and let her cover me with a blanket. "Don't worry, Mommy," she said. "I'll always remember you when you're dead." I wasn't exactly sure what to do, and I was really tired, so I didn't really say nor do anything. I let her cover me with the blanket and she walked out. Now I'm kind of worried why she would say something like that, or what she meant by it. Story number 8. I'm a babysitter and I've dealt with some weird and annoying kids over the past few years. This one kid always gives me the creeps. He constantly says the weirdest stuff about how we're all going to die, and people who have already died are still wandering around as ghosts. The one day, while I was putting him to bed, he started saying some creepy stuff again. "You're going to die," he told me. I rolled my eyes. "Everyone's going to die someday," I told him. "Yes, but you're going to die tonight." I paused and my entire body got covered with goosebumps. He simply smiled, said goodnight, and pulled the covers over his head. I told his parents what he said and explained how I didn't want to babysit him ever again.